sure I wasn't able to kind of make decisions and stand by them. I had a really deep sense of sort of imposter syndrome. My confidence sort of plummeted. I was kind of questioning myself, things that I was doing.
Because the moment I was like, no, I'm not going on payroll, I need to invoice. They were like, all right, let's add. I had my child at 16. So I was more like, no, I can't do that. They're like, Charles, why is everything wrong with you? You're holding a baby and holding an infant.
And I spent the money on the offices and we were getting it all kitted out and we had a launch and everything, and literally within 4 weeks the turnover plummeted, and I kept thinking next month it'll be better, and started plowing in money to keep the business going, to keep the staff on.
I didn't really have that much money. I had my savings, but I don't come from a family privilege. I come from a working class family. So I had all of these kind of barriers that at the time I didn't realize were barriers. I just got on with it and just moved. I moved without thinking. I had an idea.
Hello and welcome to another episode of She's the Boss Female Entrepreneur Stories, where I'm joined by phenomenal female entrepreneurs from all around the world and also locally. If you are new here, please make sure you click that subscribe button so that you never miss out when I release a new video. In addition to the Female Entrepreneur Stories interviews, I'm also sharing on my YouTube pretty much every week now lessons of the day. So I share business advice, business tips, all related to business growth from the live Instagram stories and sessions that I do over on Instagram. So you can get those on YouTube also. So make sure that you subscribe. And if you're listening, make sure you click that follow button. I'm hoping by the time this goes out that the podcast version on Spotify is up and running. So please press follow if you are listening on Spotify. And if you're not already and connected with me on social media, on Instagram, I'm at She's the Boss UK. On Twitter, I'm at She's the Boss INTL. I'm on LinkedIn, Daniela Genus, and I'm on Facebook, Daniela Genus, She's the Boss. So make sure that you connect with me. Today, I am joined by Kashina Smith, who is the founder of Preparing the Home. Welcome, Kashina. Thank you for joining me.
Hi, Daniela. How are you? Thank you for having me, first of all.
I'm fab. And thank you for coming. And it's great because Kashina interviewed me a couple of months ago for her podcast, Mums Can. So thank you for returning the favor.
No, you're welcome. And you did a great job on the podcast as well, because
Thank
there's
you.
even more tips for your followers. So
Fab. Give us a bit of a plug for the podcast.
Okay, so the podcast is called Mums Can because mums can. That's why it's called Mums Can. At the end of it, it's always mums can do all things through Christ who give us strength. So it literally is about amazing mums around the world doing inspirational things and just encouraging other mums, other listeners, that they really can do things. And sometimes we can get really stuck in, I'm just a mum, and not realizing how powerful the word mum is. So all of the stories, and your story as well, was to inspire mums around the world. So do check it out.
Awesome. And I will make sure that I put a link in the, I'm starting to use podcast speak now, in the show notes. I'll put the link there so you can check that out. So tell us about Preparing the Home. How did you come to start the business? What is the business? Give us a bit of background.
Okay, cool. So my name is Kashina. I am a wife, and my husband and I, we have 4 children. We have 7-year-old triplet girls and we have a 4-year-old son. So life at the beginning was just crazy, just cray. That's it. Because there were 3 babies and we didn't know what we were doing. My husband at the time was working a lot. His job was like, he'd have a start time with no finish time, which meant that I got to be home all day with the children. And for my sanity, literally, to keep me sane, I had to get into some sort of routine. So Preparing the Home is literally about helping mums be the best versions of themselves, and then helping them to implement routines into their home life so that they can then do more and be more. Mm-hmm. So this is where the routines all started from. It started from our life with triplets, rolling solo, and having to figure it out. And I realized how having a routine really did help me. It helped us once hubby was on board. And I want to be able to help other mums around the world literally be able to find time to do the things that they love with the people that they love.
Mm-hmm. So I just want to, I'm doing some maths in my head. So you had 3-year-old triplets
Yeah. So when I was
about before.
yeah. When I was pregnant, they were 2. So as soon as our son was born, then they turned 3 like 16 days later.
Okay, so mums definitely can. Because you clearly did. And that's amazing. No, because I just feel like we don't, what is the word? We don't give enough reverence for mums of multiples. Because I'm a mum of 1, and I remember in those early days when my husband went back to work and I was kind of just sat there like, okay, what do I do with this baby?
Literally.
And she just wants to stick on me and feed from me, and she don't want to go to sleep, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. So the idea of that times 3 is just mind-blowing for me. And the fact that in the midst of that, you said, I know I'm going to start a business, like, oh, and I'm going to have another baby. That to me is amazing. Like, you are amazing. So I want to give you a round of applause for that. So did people think that you were crazy?
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. Like, yeah, they did. They did. I mean, I suppose I did too. I can tell you one thing. The first thing I did was go and get an early scan, and I was like, "How many babies are there, please?" But then
check.
I
didn't mean about having another baby. Like, obviously, you like babies, right? I mean, no. Like, some people like to have a lot of kids. That's your prerogative. It's not like I don't think I could have more kids after having triplets. I think that would be me done forever. But that's fine for you. I'm saying then deciding to start a business. So you've got 4 kids that are they're not that far apart in age, and like now I'm doing business. Wait, did you do the business after the triplets and before your son, or after all 4?
So it was after all 4.
Yeah. So yeah, that's what I meant. Like, did people say, well, look, you've got 4 kids, what are you doing here? Why don't you just relax?
100%. I mean, same answer. I still think I'm crazy sometimes too, but but I actually really enjoy helping other mums. I'm not gonna lie. I wish that I had somebody there to be able to encourage me. I wish there was somebody who could just give practical advice and practical tips. And sometimes you just need someone to feed into you, especially those days when when you're negative, like you try to get rid of those negative thoughts, but the negative thoughts just kind of flow on through like they have no behavior. And sometimes you just need somebody to be able to be like, no, but you are amazing. Do you remember when you did this? Yeah, you're great. You're good. And when you have a bad day, that's all right. It actually makes you human. So don't worry about it. Relax. It's okay. We'll just try again tomorrow, which is literally my mantra. Today was a bad day. We're going to try again tomorrow.
I love it. So what were kind of the steps that you took? So, and I suppose more from a practical level, how did you work out, okay, I'm going to start this business. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to get clients. This is where I'm going to have sessions, because you do coaching and programs, right? So how did you work that out logistically?
I think at the beginning, I was kind of faffing around trying to do everything. And I think one thing that I've personally learned is when you don't know, just go and learn, which is why people like you are amazing. Like sometimes we decide to try and figure things out by ourselves, and it has its pros and cons, right? But I think for a mum with young children, limited resources and limited funds, it wasn't the smartest idea. It just would have been easier to find somebody who could guide me along. And I think I would have got somewhere quicker with less mistakes. Though you learn from mistakes. Mistakes aren't bad. I'm not saying mistakes are bad. But so at the beginning, it was a bit of a faff. And then after that, I realized I have lots of mum friends. So tap into my network and the people that I already know and ask them what it is that they find most challenging, what's really difficult. And then I went to apps like Peanut or Mush, which have lots of other mums on there who are asking lots of questions. And by looking at the questions that they're asking, I had an idea of what it was that they were struggling with. And YouTube was another one. Everyone is Googling like mum of 1's morning routine and mum of 4's morning routine. So routine was this big thing that no one really knew Google, once again, everyone Googles a routine. And then what they try to do is just take the routine that's off of Google and make it work, but then it doesn't work. So then they think that routines don't work. But the reality is you can't do that because everybody's unique. And so by giving a unique routine for families, by giving a unique experience, by giving a personalized routine, that's what kind of separated me from what you could just get off of YouTube or off of Google, and what I do.
So have you always been like super organized, or is that something that's developed? Okay.
No, actually what used to annoy me was when we were going to church, we were always late, and I just refused to allow the fact that, I don't know, maybe it's my mentality. I think because we had triplets, I think I didn't want to use having triplets as an excuse for anything.
Wait, that's cracking me up, because when we're late for church, I'm like, well, we've got a kid. What do you expect? Hello. I totally use it every time.
I don't know what it is. I don't know. Maybe I don't want a pity party. I don't know what it is. I'm not sure. We're going to have to work through that.
But I feel like it's probably, so when my daughter was just born, like within 2 months or so, I started my MBA. And I know for me, my thing was, I'm going to get a distinction because I don't want the fact that I've got a baby. Everyone's like, oh, well, she managed to just get by. No, I need to be the best at it. But I think sometimes as people, as moms, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, because really I didn't have to get a distinction, and you can be late to church because you do have 4 kids and you've got triplets. Like, it's absolutely fine. But I think that's just our nature. Sometimes we don't want to, it's like that kind of superhero complex, isn't it? Because nobody would judge you if you were late for church.
They wouldn't. And it was me, because in my head, the reality was, if I was going on holiday, I'd get there on time, like best belief. I will.
Well, that's a very fair point.
I would. And maybe, like, I think everybody's different, because I had this conversation with my friend and she was like, people say this to me, but like, I'm late for everything. And she genuinely is late for everything. Like, she'll be late for heaven. So I guess it depends on the person as well. But because I knew that there was no real excuse, quote unquote, for me, it was just that I just didn't have my stuff in order. Because if I was going on holiday, the stuff would be in order, would be getting there. That's when it was like, okay, but how do you make this a reality then? Because you can clearly do it. So then why are you not? Are you just using it as an excuse? Is that what it is? However, like you said, I am 100% on learning to listen to your body. So just because, like, recently I've been doing a 6 a.m. Challenge with some mums, absolutely amazing mums. These mums, like, half of them aren't even doing 6 a.m. anymore. They're coming on at 6 a.m. and they're like, I've been up since 5, which is great, because honestly, 5 a.m. is a game changer for anyone. It's an absolute game changer. But all that to say, whenever they come on and they're like, I'm tired, I'm like, listen to your body. Like, the first thing, listen to your body. There's nothing wrong with, if you miss a session, that's okay. That doesn't make you worse or bad or a failure. But listen to your body. And I think at the beginning I didn't, and I ended up burning out. So that's the other part of what I do in preparing the home, is helping you to be your best you, because you can try and do everything, whether it's working, studying, homeschooling, we homeschool as well, homeschooling, running a business, whatever it is that you're doing.
Whoa. You're gonna have to you slip that in a bit too casually. So what? What? How? Please tell me.
I don't know what you want me to say.
Right. So as I said, I have one child, and trying to do homeschooling during lockdown was near on impossible for me. Like, I thought I was going to lose the actual plot. It was just not possible. But you're doing this full time, like, you're homeschooling when it's not mandatory for you to do so.
They've always been homeschooled. They've always been home.
Wow. Like, you definitely are the superhero of this piece.
We're not. Everybody.
No, you are.
What? You studied, like,
no.
at the top with a baby who doesn't sleep at night. I mean,
no. She slept. That was my saving grace. She slept. Once she was in bed at 8, she did not wake up again till like 6 o'clock in the morning. So that was why I was able to do that. If she didn't, it wouldn't have happened. I need to sleep.
Spoken to my kids.
Oh, sorry. So wait, so hang on a minute. So you're homeschooling. How exactly are you, like, how do you, well, obviously you're the organization queen now, even if you wasn't before. How do you what does a typical day in your life look like?
Do you know what? I'm not an organization queen either. I think people think is. I think I'm very real. And I think once you have a system, and you can get your system to work for you, it works.
But that's being organized. Why is that is being organized?
Okay, so maybe it's me. When people think organized, like everything's in a particular place everything. So that's not okay. So we'll clarify that.
Because I'm organized, but I'm disorganized. I always say I'm probably the most organized person you meet.
Yes.
Because I know that I'm quite disorganized. I put systems in place to keep me organized and structured. That is still being organized.
It is.
It's not
okay,
necessarily...
we'll go for the disorganized, organized. Yeah.
Yeah. So, how do you, like, what is a day? Tell me, what's a day look like in your life?
Okay, so I wake up at 5, 6. Now that's but
wait, sorry, pause. It's got a bit funny. So start again. Sorry. You wake up at 5 a.m.
5 a.m. between 5 and 6, depending on the day. And then I will do what I'm doing. So literally that morning for me, like devotion, exercising, and an hour and a half of work. So by the time the kids are waking up, apart from our son who thinks it's okay to wake up with the sun, then I've done most of what it is that I wanted to do, the most important stuff to do for work. And then it's breakfast time. After breakfast time, everyone gets ready. I usually find that I have about an hour to spare because I'm up so early. So I'll do chores like washing clothes, make sure everything's kind of neatish. And then we start homeschool between 9:30 and 11. So one of the things that a lot of homeschoolers do, or home educators, there is a difference, is it's not how the school made it seem. So when everyone was on lockdown, they tried to do school at home. Okay, granted, I did that at the beginning. It didn't work for our family. And it was very stressful, which is why my heart really went out to parents during lockdown, because I got it. Like, you don't want them to fall behind, and you think in order for them to not fall behind, they have to be doing the 6 hours. But if you really break it down, they've got breaks, and in between breaks, they're walking from one class to the other class. And then in between that, they're doing like some kind of circle time, something. If you really cut down the amount of learning that they're doing, it's a few hours a day. And so for us, we literally do an hour and a half. This is just for the older kids, the older girls. Our son just kind of prances around and does stuff. He literally does. Like, he'll do different activities and things. But I think one thing that I learned through homeschooling is not to be so stressed out about it. And I learned that when I was pregnant, because I was sick as a dog. When I was pregnant, before that, I was trying to teach the girls their alphabet. They got to D. I got frustrated. They were frustrated. I gave up because I couldn't do anything. And they knew their alphabet. I'm like, are you having a laugh? What is that? Like, what is that? So I've learned from that. So we were a lot slower paced. Our son is 4. He only recently learned his alphabet, which I know a lot of people think like, oh my goodness, what are you doing to them? But he was beating me at chess. So I think he's okay. Do you know what I mean? And you'll figure out the alphabet. We'll get there. So it's a little bit more laid back. So after the hour and a half, it's like free time. I can do reading if I want to read or whatever I'm doing. Lunchtime, after lunch, we're literally out for the rest of the afternoon in some sort of nature, doing something. Come back home, dinner time, bath time, bedtime, and then I do all my podcasty stuff in the evening. So it works. I think it's just about I have to be really specific about what I want to achieve.
And organized, even though you're trying to resist it.
But it's not, if you come, it's not as, what I don't want who's listening is to think that when people hear routines, it's very negative. It's almost like a person, like, oh my goodness, routines. And a lot of moms that I've spoken to literally get anxiety from the routines. Like, they hear the word routines and like, that, like, they can't cope. Like, that's not how it's meant to be.
Which is funny because I have the opposite. When there's no routine, that's when I start to get anxiety. So like, as I said, before we came online, my daughter goes to bed at a specific time every night. And when we go away, it's like we went away a couple of weeks ago, and my friend who we stayed with, she's like, oh, it's the weekend, we don't really have a routine. Whereas in our house, even on the weekend, you still have to go to bed at a specific time because I need me time. Like you don't need to be in my ears till 10 o'clock midnight, even though on a Sunday she still tries to stay up. And that for me was very stressful. So I find it interesting when people get stressed about the idea of routine. And I'm like, no, we need routine.
But you know what I think it is though? I think it's more the fear of failing. Because if your routine's too strict that you can't keep up to it, then you feel like you're a failure. And then when you feel like you're a failure, you don't feel like you can keep doing it, rather than seeing the benefits of it and being less strict about it. Like literally, I have anchor points. The kids know. My son, who can't tell the time, knows the time for breakfast. Like it's set, and you know the time for bedtime. Fill in what you want to fill in between. Be spontaneous to be like, today we're going to the beach. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, but have those set anchor points which kind of hold your day together whilst being flexible and having fun with it. Routines are meant to be fun. And in preparing the home, that's the message that I want to get across with it as well. And also when your child is in bed at a set time, whether you want to study, whether you want to start a business, you want to do a hobby, or you just want to chill with your hubby, like you have time to be able to do that. But the only way to be able to do that is when you kind of have something there first.
No, I definitely agree. And actually, although we're talking about it from a motherhood perspective, this principles remain for business. Even if you're not a mom, having routines in business and structure is so key if you're trying to kind of move forward and be successful. So I think it's interchangeable, whether you're mom in business or if you're just a businesswoman or businessman, if you're listening. Trying to get structures and routines is key. So even one of the things that I talk about quite often is making sure that you set a time every month to do finances, set a time every month to look at risk and risk planning, etc. Set a time every week, ideally, to be looking at systems and processes so that you can improve efficiency. So it is kind of interchangeable. And if you're a mom in business in particular, or a parent in business, then making sure that you have those same systems and routines in your house, I can imagine, will make the business routines and systems flow easier as well.
Definitely. And I think it's also just realizing that it's not just going to happen. Like you said, with like your business and having the systems in place, you try something, it doesn't quite work, you tweak it. Does it work now? Is this getting me to where I want to go? If it's not, okay, let's go drawing board. Like, it's okay to have this back and forth until you find something that works for you, until it changes again. Because the reality is, it will, when your child stops napping, when they grow up, when they go to school, like you have to start from the beginning. If you know how to do it, it's not so stressful.
I don't even want to think about that not napping time, because that was a very stressful time in my life. Anyway, moving swiftly on. You mentioned burnout earlier.
Yeah.
Burnout is something that I feel like I talk about with every single entrepreneur that I've interviewed on here, because everybody seems to have faced it and experienced it. How did it manifest for you? Was it something that you instantly recognized as burnout, or is it a retrospective realization? That's the word.
Good question. I was sick, so sick. I was literally in bed, so sick, and I don't get sick. I physically was struggling to move. I couldn't eat. I was just exhausted. Like, my body was just exhausted. I was just exhausted, literally laying there, which kind of defeated the object of trying to do everything, because then couldn't do anything, and you were back to square one. So it doesn't even make any sense. It doesn't make sense. And then you have to try and catch up with the 3-4 days that you were out, because you couldn't do anything. So I think for me, it was an opportunity for me to think. And the reason why I don't actually like the term supermom is because you think you have to do it all. And even for me, even though I am doing a lot, and I have some amazing people always like, Kashina, chill out, like make sure you stay focused, or you're not doing too much. I'm always assessing and reassessing. And I think one of the things to remember, especially for parents, and obviously for moms, because I speak specifically for moms, is to realize your season. Because what I'm doing now, I couldn't have done when the girls were younger. that wasn't my season. Like it would have been ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous, ludicrous, especially because two of them didn't sleep. So it would have been absolutely ludicrous for me to do it then. So I think it's really important to know your season. When they're 10, I think I'm going to be able to do even more than what I'm doing now, maybe, or just what I mean.
Yeah.
But I have to know my season, and I need to stay in my lane, because I can't be watching what everybody else does. And the reality is I can't do business like my friends with no kids. I can't.
I think that's such a powerful point, and something that I speak to quite a few of my clients about in obviously different language, but you said it so eloquently. Like everything has a season, and actually it might not be your season. I think that's so key, because sometimes people are looking at what other people are doing and like, well, they're moving at a faster pace than me. I'm falling behind, or why haven't I got that bit of coverage, or why is my social media not as popping as that person's? But actually you're right. And again, whether you're a mom or you're not a mom, it might not be your season. It might not be your time right now. And actually having patience and I suppose appreciating the journey, and knowing that, as you said, at some point this will change and I'll be in a new season. I think that's a really powerful point. And also what you said about not liking the term supermom. It's funny because my husband used to always call me superwoman, and it really used to wind me up. And as you said it reminded me that actually he's not said it probably for over a year, because I used to get so angry, like, don't say that, because when you say that, it's like it puts pressure on me to try to live up to that. And I'm not trying to do that, even though clearly we both were, because you was out here trying to do business and have another child after you've already had 3 and be, you know what I mean? And also I make light of it, but I think sometimes we act in superhero ways, but we don't want to be called a superhero, because then it puts additional pressure for us to continue to act in those ways when we know that we shouldn't.
Exactly.
If that makes sense. So yeah, that was kind of what I was saying.
And it doesn't take away from being your best. Like I'm always about, like, you be your best self. Like you do whatever it is that you're doing to the best of your ability. And it's important, I think, for you to continue to grow and develop and make an impact in the world and in the home. So you do your best, just like you said with the term supermom, superwoman, you're just like, oh, because then when you fail, you're like, oh,
I'm not super.
literally.
But I think it's an interesting concept. I can't remember when, I think in another interview I was talking about superhero complex. And I think it's such a thing, or it's not even such a thing, it's such a big thing amongst moms. Because as I said, even though we often reject the term, we do have this kind of internalized complex that we have to be the best at this, at everything. And actually, once you kind of put that down and realize that you don't have to be, that you want to operate at your best, but you don't have to be the best in every area. Once you decide to put that down, I think that you actually operate at a better capacity. So once I realized, actually, I can't be the best mom and the best businesswoman and the best like housewife all at the same time. It's not possible. Like, it's actually not possible, and it's going to stress me out. But actually, I can pick the days. So on these days, or the time of the day. So during the day, I'm going to be the best businesswoman. But during the evening, like as soon as my daughter walks in, now I'm going to have to be the best mom. Like the business bit's going to have to stop for now, because I can't do it at the same time. And I think that was probably what was really challenging for me during the lockdown, because everything kind of converged. So I couldn't separate it out anymore. So I can't be the best in any area, because when I'm trying to do work, my child is there, which means I'm not doing very good at work, and I'm not being very good at being a mom. And that was a big learning kind of process for me, because it was like, okay, this is not working out in any area. But anyway, let me not go off on a tangent, because
no, definitely
about that for a while. So what has been the highlight of the journey so far?
Definitely hearing mums report back what they've been able to achieve. Like 100%, 100%. When they start and they're like, oh, I can't, or it's not working, or I've tried everything. And then they're like, oh my days, and I'm doing this and I'm doing this. And now we're going here. And I'm doing, like, one of my clients is now studying in the evening, where that didn't even seem like a reality or possibility, because her kids just weren't sleeping at nighttime. Or even with the 6 a.m. club, hearing half of the mums coming on and be like, oh, I'm like, you sound very perky this morning. Yeah, I've been up since 5 a.m. When at the beginning, when I started and I put on Instagram, do you want 5 a.m. or 6 a.m.? There were like 2 people who said 6 a.m. Everyone else said 5 a.m. Everyone else said 6 a.m. But now look, everyone's doing 5 a.m. because you realize actually those couple of hours where it's quiet, you can get a lot done. If you do it in the right way, you can get a lot done. And so just seeing mums just realizing who God's literally created them to be. Like, you are amazing. And sometimes we do downplay it, I guess. I guess we do downplay that. But yeah, just it's amazing to hear the excitement in their voice. And like, I can. Yeah, I know you can. I told you this. I told you I believe in you from the beginning. I wasn't lying.
Love that. So you mentioned faith. How important has your faith been on this journey?
Oh, 100%. 100%. Like, there's been times, I think someone said to me a few weeks ago, they were like, so you don't get overwhelmed? Of course I do. I'm human. What do you mean? Like, and I guess this is what I mean when they're like, oh, you're this and you're that. No, I'm flesh and blood like you are, and I struggle. There are days when I go into the bathroom and I'm crying and I'm like, God, okay, like, we need to work this out now. I have the emotions of anger. I have the emotions of frustration. I have the sadness. So I have the joys and stuff, but I go through challenges like everybody else. And the only way I'm going to get through those challenges literally is prayer. Like, I'm sure God is tired of my prayer for patience. But we thank God that
Wait, I just prayed over my daughter, and whilst I was praying, I was like, Lord, I pray that you give me and her dad patience. I have to every night, because my patience is like distant.
Listen, like, and it's the reality. I can't, and I haven't been able to do it by myself. And actually, what I realized since having our children is how much I need God, and how much I need changing. And what I'm realizing, and what God's been showing me more, is sometimes I look in the mirror and I'm like, whoa, there's a lot to do here. And before, what I would do is think, that's too much, let me not bother. Whereas now I'm like, well, that's a lot to do. Okay, God, where are we starting? But be easy on me, okay? And just realizing, like you said, you can't do everything at the same time. I can't try and master my patience and my tone and the homeschooling and getting out of the house on time, do that all in one go, boom, 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 boom. Pick what you want to do, focus on that, ask God for his blessing and his help in that. And as you start to see growth in that, trust me, he will show you something else. And then you move on to the next thing. And so I've just, for me personally, it's definitely been a journey. I'm still on the journey. And I'm happy to be open about my journey as well. So I never want anyone to think, like someone said, you never get overwhelmed. Yeah, I do. But yeah, we thank God for prayer.
Amen. I think it's really important for people to be honest. And I always talk about the fact that I wrestle with this kind of Instagram culture where people are only ever talking about the good things. And then it makes people who are sitting and watching kind of start to second guess themselves, because actually so even in my example, so I've got one child and I'm looking and saying, okay, well, this person's got 6 kids and they're saying it's so easy and their hair's always done and blah, blah, blah. And I could be sitting here, do you know what I mean? Obviously not me personally, because I know that Instagram is not real. But there are people that don't realize that. And that's why I also am quite vocal with saying, look, I cried yesterday, or this happened, or even during the pandemic, I would say, look, there was times where I locked myself in the bedroom and put my back against the door and cried while my daughter banged on the other side because I couldn't take it. Because I think it's so important for people to understand that, yeah, like, as much as you see I say I'm the boss and you're doing what you're doing, and we're saying that we're kind of thriving and whatever, we also do get overwhelmed. We also do have challenges. We also do have obstacles, and whether you get through them by having faith or through some other method, it doesn't mean that they don't happen and these things don't occur. So thank you to you also for being honest and open with that. I feel like I'm just going to talk to you forever, but I also recognize that we can't have 2-hour-long Instagrams. So I'm going to do 3 things.
Okay.
The first is She's the Boss recommends. I'm sure I'm doing this in the wrong order, but it's whatever at this point. A book or podcast that you that has made an impact on your life that you'd want to recommend to our audience?
Oh, this is a lot.
Sorry.
Oh, that's a lot. Okay, so recently it has been the 5 a.m. Club. I think that book did it's kickstarted my 5 a.m. It's a bit new agey, so if there are people of faith listening to it, then reading it, just be aware of that. But in terms of the principles, it was really good. And Atomic Habits. So those two books together have been really powerful.
Awesome. 3 pieces of advice that you'd give to someone who's sitting at home listening, thinking, right, I've got kids, I would love to start a business, but actually I'm going to have to wait till my kids are older and leave because I haven't got the time or inclination to be able to do that right now.
One, be realistic about the season that you're in. So realistically, do you have time to do it? How much time is it going to take up? What resources do you have? So just being realistic about your season. And do you have to do it all right now? Because you could very well start the business, but have a plan to get it all up and running within the next 2-3 years. But you're still making movements. So that would be my number one. My number two would be find somebody who can help you to put everything into place straight away, because it will just save all the faff that comes unnecessarily, and propel you forward rather than wasting time at the beginning. And my number three would be, can I have like a 3-4?
Yeah.
Okay.
More the merrier.
One, have a routine, like have set times. So you kind of spoke on it a bit earlier. When you try to do everything throughout the day, nothing really gets done well. So have set times, like this is the time that I want to work on the business, even if it's just the idea stage. I want 2 hours to be able to research and to do some market research or marketing, whatever it is that you want to do. But tied into that is, if you do have a partner, work together. So let them know, look, this is my idea, this is what I want to do. Realistically, I need like 2 hours a day. Can you just have the kids for the 2 hours a day, please? Appreciate it. And work together as a team. You'll get there first.
I love that. And then now, although I feel like I should have done this first, but we live and we learn. The quick fire round. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions quickly.
Okay.
Although I don't really do it that quick, but anyway, it's supposed to be quick. And then obviously just the first thing that comes to your head.
Okay.
So ready, steady, let's go. Beach or city?
Beach.
Which beach?
Anyone. Okay. I don't really know. Preferably somewhere in like Jamaica where it's like really hot, not Southend because there's no sun. So
that's why I asked which beach. Jamaica is my beach place too. Fruit or veg?
Oh, fruit.
Which fruit?
Pineapple, mango. I mean, it's endless.
Pineapple and mango are also my faves. TV or YouTube?
YouTube.
iPhone or Samsung?
Samsung. Yeah.
Samsung.
Yeah. I'm not good with iPhone, Apple stuff, no.
Me either. Happiest when? I'm happiest when, or you're happiest when?
Oh, I've got a good book. The kids are playing and they're really happy, and hubby's like smiling on a laptop.
That sounds great. Proudest moment?
Giving birth to the kids.
Wow.
Well, giving birth to my son, because it was actually a natural birth. I mean, I'm proud of the other, but you know what I mean.
No, you birthed free. However they got out.
You know what I mean?
Biggest inspiration?
Oh, probably this lady called Nicole Waters, actually, on Instagram. She is absolutely hilarious and walks around in her nightie, but she's fabulous. So yeah, okay. She's very real.
I'll have a look for her. Kashina is going to be remembered for
her lots of kids.
Wait, don't crack me up. I love it. Thank you so much. If people want to find out more about you, what platforms can they find you on?
I am on Instagram at Preparing the Home and Facebook, Preparing the Home. And my website is www.preparingthehome.co.uk. And for the podcast, it is Mums Can Podcast on most of the platforms.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. I've really enjoyed talking to you and wishing you every success in the future. And for those of you who are watching, for listening, again, make sure you click that subscribe or follow button so that you never miss another interview. Make sure that you're following on Instagram. In particular, that's where I spend most of my time. So that's probably the first place that I'll send you to. And don't forget to like and share. And if Kashina said anything that has resonated with you, leave us a comment and let us know your thoughts. It's really good to get kind of feedback on these conversations. And if you are a woman in business sitting home watching this and you'd like to be interviewed, drop me an email to podcast@she'sthebossintl.com. And if you're sitting at home and you're in business, or you're in the early stages of starting a business, or you're trying to grow your business and you need some assistance, I have a range of services that I can support you with to build and grow a profitable, sustainable, systems-driven business that is not reliant on you, the founder. If you're interested in any of those services, first of all, go to my website. You can see my brochure there, which is www.she'sthebossintl.com, and you can book an exploration call to find out how I can assist you. You can also obviously view the brochure and the testimonials. I have a proven track record of supporting entrepreneurs to grow by 6 figures and or up to 75%. So if you want those kind of results in your life and in your business, get in touch. And I will catch you in 2 weeks' time for another She's the Boss female entrepreneur story. Thank you so much for listening.